Sonic Generations was one of my favorite 3D Sonic games, and there were a multitude of reasons as to why. The level design was amazing, the remix music was just perfect, and it felt like there was a lot of love and care and passion poured into it. So imagine my surprise when Sega announced that Sonic Generations would be getting a next-gen remaster on modern consoles. Then imagine my bigger surprise when it was shown that a new campaign focused on Shadow the Hedgehog was being added as a companion game. Sonic X Shadow Generations, horrible name by the way for obvious reasons, is a remaster that, I'll be honest, as cool as the Shadow Generation story looked, I was super skeptical on at first. Historically, Sega has never made a good remaster of a past Sonic game before. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, while great, had audio mixing issues, and the HD version not only broke some textures and lighting, but also straight up broke the rail grinding mechanic. Sonic Adventure DX? God, just watch Blaze Hedgehog's video on that game. Sonic Colors Ultimate was actively worse than the original Wii version with pop-up porn ads and seizure-inducing glitches. And Sonic Origins made me question Sega in ways that I never did before. However, it could be argued that recent years have been kind of a turnaround for the franchise. Both Sonic movies have been fantastic, and I am 100% looking forward to the third movie. Sonic Frontiers was a solid direction for the series, just please, Sega, never do the Horizons DLC shit again. That was painful. If you know, you know, and if you don't know, can I join you? What ultimately convinced me to get Sonic X Shadow Generations was two things. First was the Dark Beginnings animated short series, which was amazing, seriously, go watch it. But also that Sonic Generations wasn't really being touched much outside of the game's story being written, as well as a few other additions. That and the game was priced at $50 and not a full price $70, so I pre-ordered the game about 2 weeks from release. The pre-order bonuses were nice, the Sonic Adventure skin from Modern Sonic is pretty dope, and the physical copy of Gerald Robotnik's journal is cool, and yes, I am playing this on my Xbox. My PC may be beefy, but it really doesn't like it when I play intensive games and record them at the same time. Because this is sort of two games, I'm going to leave timestamps to divide up this video, as well as help you jump from one part to the other. We'll start off with Sonic Generations, and then move to Shadow Generations. Also, I'll repeat this when we get to Shadow's part of the game, but spoilers are ahead, and I understand if you want to bookmark this video and come back later. With all of that said, let's start off with what was originally Sonic's 20th anniversary title. We open in Green Hill Zone with classic Sonic just running through, collecting rings, destroying badniks, you know, the usual classic Sonic happenings. He doesn't have physics like the classic games, but it's a good enough recreation, and his spin dash here is the most powerful it's ever been, I swear. After clearing Green Hill Zone, this monster appears out of nowhere in the sky and does something. We fast forward to modern day, where the gang throws a surprise birthday party for Sonic. Things are going great until the same monster shows up and opens these portals that suck Sonic's friends in. Sonic tries to stop the monster, but it whacks him out cold, and when he comes to, he finds himself in this white void. Sonic sees this colorless version of Green Hill and heads to it. After clearing the level, the color is restored to Green Hill Zone, and Tails is simultaneously rescued. He knows that this isn't South Island and questions what happened before pointing out a familiar skyline in the distance. Sonic runs off to investigate, but then Tails is surprised to see Sonic immediately return, and then run off again. This is the general gameplay loop of Sonic Generations. Act 1 is a 2D stage with classic Sonic, while Act 2 is both 2D and 3D with modern Sonic. Personally, I would have liked if modern Sonic was strictly 3D. Classic Sonic already is 2D, so the overall gameplay ends up being something like 70% 2D and 30% 3D. Modern Sonic also sees the return of the boost formula from Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Colors, and I feel that this is this gameplay style at its peak. Levels are expertly crafted to take full advantage of it, with loads of them having hidden pathways which lead to goodies like red rings, which unlock artwork and music. And also the new version of this game has these Lost Chow. These don't really add much as far as I could tell, but it's cool to see Chow return even if it is in a very menial role. The next level is Chemical Plant Zone from Sonic 2, which shouldn't prove to be too much of a challenge for either Hedgehog. After clearing it, Tails will meet up with modern Sonic in the level, and will mention how there's no way that they're on West Side Island, with Sonic stating that they need to find their friends first before they worry about anything else. Speaking of friends, Amy is rescued, and promises to return the favor, which I guess she kinda does in Frontier. Anyway. Sky Sanctuary Zone from Sonic 3 and Knuckles returns as the next level in this game, and it is a blast to try to speed through as both Hedgehogs. I mean, really, I could say that about this whole game, but you know. Now would be a good time to mention that the ranking system from past games returns here, which ranks you based on how fast you completed a stage, as well as how many rings you got, and if you didn't die, you automatically get upgraded to the next rank, with S being a perfect. Knuckles is saved, with him spouting some pretty generic dialogue if I'm being honest. I mean, it's better than what he says if you rescue him with Classic Sonic. And now, Sonic, where's the rest of my island? After clearing all 3 stages, these challenge levels open up to you, with you needing to beat one from each level in order to get these boss keys, which are required for taking on the boss of the classic era of this game. These are pretty neat, and there are a variety of them to choose from. Clearing a challenge level also spawns this bell above the gateway, which when rung, summons this music note that keeps bouncing around, and if you collect it, it'll award you with a piece of artwork or a music track. You can also partake in a rival fight against Metal Sonic from Sonic CD. Just avoid his attacks and give him a good bop in the head 3 times, and he'll award you a Chaos Emerald for beating him. I want to point this out now before I forget, but running to the left will lead you to one of 2 locations. One is the skill shop, where you can spend points that you've acquired by beating levels to purchase skills to equip. These can range from Classic Sonic having the elemental shields from Sonic 3 to starting off a stage with rings or even a faster homing attack from modern Sonic. These do have point value, so you can't equip all of them at once unfortunately, so you'll have to pick and choose which ones you think will pair up the best. All the way to the left is the museum, which contains music, cutscenes, character bios, the Chow list, and even artwork. The classic era boss fight is against the Death Egg robot from Sonic 2. Before you start, you get this cutscene of Sonic looking into a mirror before Eggman interrupts him, with classic Sonic running off to fight him. I call bullshit. This fight did not have rings back in Sonic 2. It's also a 2-phase fight where you'll have to bait the robot into hitting one of these bombs so Sonic can right its arm to bop it on the head. After the fight, the monster from earlier takes Dr. Robotnik, with him pleading with Sonic to save him. When Classic returns, both versions of Tails realize that they've been cast asunder through time and space.
Without the Time Stones?
Oh no, don't mention the Time Stone! With the Classic era restored, the next era opens up. Welcome to the Dreamcast era, consisting of levels from Sonic's early 3D career. The first level here is Speed Highway from Sonic Adventure 1. You know, running through a modern version of this stage with the SA1 Sonic skin is kind of surreal. Okay guys, I have a theory. This is a hint for a Sonic Adventure remake. Restoring Speed Highway saves Cream the Rabbit, which... wait, why her? She wasn't in SA1. Wouldn't it make more sense for it to be Big the Cat? Gamma? Next up is the best level from any Sonic game, City Escape from Sonic Adventure 2. I love how the gun truck chases Classic Sonic through nearly the whole level, and modern Sonic's version wants him fucking dead with these giant buzzsaws. Christ! It's here that we rescue Rouge the Bat.
Bat boobs.
You think you can flaunt your assets, Rouge the Bat? Well, guess what? So can...
You serious?
Lastly, for the Dreamcast era is Seaside Hill. What the No, that's not Dreamcast. Sonic Heroes was the first multi-platform Sonic game. Anyway, as someone who has played maybe about a single hour's worth of Sonic Heroes, this is probably my favorite version of the stage thus far. Espio the Chameleon is saved after Seaside Hill is restored, and the Tails show up to pretty much tell the Sonics to keep it up, because it's restoring time. With the 3 Dreamcast-era levels restored, it's time for more missions, and I have one that I want to point out in particular. It's this one in Seaside Hill with Rouge. You have to use Rouge to seduce the Egg Pawns, and this raises several questions in my mind, like, why did Eggman program a libido into his robots? I'm serious, I want to know why these robots want to fuck. The rival fight here is against Shadow the Hedgehog, with this specifically referencing the final fight between them in SA2. You and Shadow are racing to get this pink energy ball to power up so that one can take out the other. And they play Live and Learn when Sonic powers up and it made me fucking die! The next boss fight is against Perfect Chaos from Sonic Adventure 1, complete with this cool remix of Open Your Heart. I remember this being pointed out a long time ago back when this game first came out, but it's interesting how in Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic needed the Chaos Emeralds to become Super Sonic to fight Perfect Chaos, but here, he can do it with his natural abilities. It's almost as if they're saying through the gameplay that Sonic has gotten more powerful since that original encounter. After the boss fight, that monster shows back up and tries to take the Chaos Emerald, but its power manages to scare it off, so the Tails surmise that they'll need all 7 emeralds in order to restore time proper. Next up is the final era of this journey, the modern era, which starts us off in Crisis City from Sonic 06. I mean, if they had to include any stage from 06, I suppose this would be the one. It's also interesting how, despite 06 being erased from the timeline, because of the messed up state that time is currently in, everything from that game is able to exist here. Also, props to Sonic Team for trolling us at the end of classic Crisis City. The best Sonic character is rescued as we move on to the next level. Rooftop Run from Sonic Unleashed is next, and while I love the modern version of the stage, I really don't care for its classic counterpart. It's the barrels. I hate the barrels. Restoring Rooftop Run saves Vector the Crocodile, who states that he believes that there's something controlling that monster that caused all of this. Putting those detective skills to use, I see. Finally, we come to Planet Wisp from Sonic Colors, and you know, I remember everyone stating how this stage was too new in order for it to be in Generations, but that was back when this first came out. Nowadays, I don't think people are gonna mind it as much. It's nice having the color abilities back, but there's only 2 of them and each Hedgehog only gets 1. And I also wish Act 2 was a bit shorter, just saying. Restoring Planet Wisp also rescues Charm. Yeah, I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque. The Sonics spot the Chaos Emerald from earlier and rush off to get it, with modern Sonic using his midair dash to get it before classic Sonic can, basically just to, flex, but classic Sonic is cool with it, so hey, whatever. Now we can do the last bout of missions, and the last rival fight, this one being against Silver the Hedgehog from Sonic 06, and thank God, this fight is nothing like his boss fights from that game, it's actually fun. The modern era boss fight is against the Egg Dragoon from Sonic Unleashed. This one took me a minute, but its attack patterns fortunately aren't too difficult to learn, so it shouldn't take you too much time either. After defeating Eggman, the others show up, with modern Tails suggesting that they call a truce with Eggman to deal with the monster. Until the monster shows up and kidnaps Eggman. Thanks for jinxing it, you fucking asshole! With all 7 Chaos Emeralds in hand, it's finally time to confront the Time Eater, with it being revealed that Dr. Eggman has been controlling it the whole time with the help of his past self. Eggman came across the Time Eater after Sonic destroyed his Interstellar amusement park back in Colors, and used it to correct his mistakes from the past. The 2 Sonics rush in to take on the Time Eater, however it counters their attack and squishes them. Things are looking pretty dire until all of Sonic's friends show up to encourage the Blue Blurs. This causes the Chaos Emeralds to activate and transform the 2 into their super forms. The final boss fight against the Time Eater feels kinda clumsily put together. You can change between 2D and 3D whenever you want, with the Time Eater also being able to do so. It'll fire homing shots at you and...
Careful, Sonic! That looks like a homing shot! Looks like a homing shot! Looks like a homing shot! That looks like a homing shot!
Will you guys shut up?! Why did Sonic Team think it was a good idea to have all your friends point out every minute thing that the Time Eater does? Eventually, the Sonics do prevail and destroy the Time Eater, with time being properly restored to Sonic's birthday party, where everyone is pretty happy that the day is saved. Eventually, a portal will open up to the past, with classic Sonic and classic Tails returning to their home.
Hey, Sonic! Enjoy your future! It's gonna be great!
This ends Sonic Generations with this pretty great credit sequence showing off all of the game's levels from their original games, and all I have to say about this is, by God, they made 06 look playable! We then get this post-credits scene of the 2 Eggman being stuck in white space together, where I honestly feel bad for the past Eggman. Poor guy sees firsthand just how stupid he becomes if he keeps fighting Sonic. The game will also tell you that you can now play as Super Sonic in the normal levels via an equipable skill. Sonic Generations was a blast to play back when it first came out, and I'm glad to say that all these years later, it still is. This is honestly the best remaster that I think Sega has ever put out for Sonic. Not that that's a high bar, although I do have some points against it. They're minor, but they still bother me. The game's story was rewritten by Ian Flynn, the current writer of the series, and while I thought his writing for Frontiers was pretty good, God, what happened here? I suppose it's not that big of a deal. It's not like Generations had a good story to start with. I also don't want to blame Flynn too much for this. Sega didn't really change much in the cutscenes, or any animations, really. The voice acting was also redone, and yikes. Like, I don't want to blame any of these folks. Some of them have given great performances in the past. I feel that they probably weren't given the best direction for this one, though.
Thanks for the help. Not that I needed it.
It's the last thing you'll see in this world.
This is definitely the chemical plant.
Roger Craig Smith, who has been voicing Sonic since 2010 with Sonic Colors, is one of my favorite Sonic voice actors, but this is probably his worst performance as the character yet.
Get in line, knucklehead. All right. Oh, please, keep dreaming, Egghead. I beat you every time. It was great teaming up with you, or me. Maybe this will fast-track you to learning some new tricks in the future. Wait, I mean, past. Ugh, time travel's a chore.
Again, I don't blame the voice actors. I blame the direction that they were given. Also, before I forget, the drop dash from Sonic Mania was added. For both Sonics. Like, okay, it's fine for classic Sonic. In fact, I feel like it works with his level design pretty well, despite being added in retroactively. But why the fuck does modern Sonic have it too? It took me a bit to realize that it was there, and I kept questioning what was happening when I heard the sound effect for it, mainly because it led to my death a few times. One final change that I'll mention is that you can now toggle lives on or off, and I greatly appreciate this. Lives have been mostly removed from recent games, and it's because they just aren't necessary anymore. Even in the original release of Generations, losing all your lives meant you just had to restart the stage you died in, so I'm glad to see that they've been relegated to a toggle in the options menu. Regardless of that, Sonic Generations is still one of the best 3D Sonic games ever made, and this remaster further reinforces that opinion of mine. If you just skipped to this part of the video, then welcome. If you just finished watching the Sonic Generations portion, then welcome back. A few things though before we get into the Shadow Generations portion first, if you don't mind. This is the most recent game in the series, and because of that, I'm going to throw up a major spoiler warning for this section of the video. If you don't want to be spoiled, then I suggest pausing the video here, adding this to your watch later list, and then return when you've played the game for yourself. The reason I say to play this for yourself if you haven't is because I genuinely believe that this has one of the best stories in a Sonic game ever. I can tell you right now that yes, this game is worth your $50 in my opinion. With that said, let's move into the second half of this package. We open with Shadow aboard the Space Colony Ark after Gun detected a strange biosignature coming from it, with Shadow believing that somehow Black Doom has returned. He makes his way through the Ark, with the level being an homage to Final Chase from Sonic Adventure 2. It's here that you can get used to how Shadow plays. He can boost just like Sonic, however in addition to that, he can gather power to use Chaos Control to freeze time, as well as shoot Chaos Spears as a long-range attack. The homing attack is strangely on a separate button from jump, which took me some getting used to after playing Sonic Generations, but overall, Shadow's controls are pretty great, I'm glad to say. Partway through the level, Doom's Eye appears and causes reality to distort into this contorted version of Radical Highway, also from SA2. It's in these level segments where Shadow cannot use Chaos Control, thanks to Black Doom's influence. After clearing the stage, Shadow comes across the fake Chaos Emerald Tails made back in SA2 to fool Eggman, and takes it, only for the Time Eater to show up right there and then, and send Shadow to his own part of white space. E123 Omega is here, as well as this strange symbol in the sky. Color is partly restored to the Space Colony Arc, so Shadow has to head back in to do Act 2. The second act of each stage is in 2D, and this is the exact thing I was complaining about in Sonic Generations, so I'm glad to see that, with this being, what, 10 Oh god. Anyway, towards the end of Act 2, Shadow grows fucking wings, which he can use to just straight up fly. You don't get to keep this power for now, so don't get too used to it just yet. After restoring the Ark, Shadow ponders what caused that power to occur, only to then spot two distant figures that look familiar, the figures of Maria and Gerald Robotnik. We then get a flashback of Maria dying in 4K 60 FPS! Okay, it's really 30 FPS, but still, I cheered when I saw the 12-year-old girl get shot. God, that sounds really bad if it ever gets taken out of context. Shadow can use this token he got for restoring the Ark at this shrine to gain a new power, Doom Spears. It's a permanent upgrade to Chaos Spears that'll allow Shadow to target up to 5 enemies at once. The next level that you can take on is Rail Canyon from Sonic Heroes, and this is automatically better than the Heroes original, if only because changing rails is an actual mechanic and not a hacked-together system that can result in you overshooting the rail and falling to your death. Doom's Eye shows back up and turns the level back into Radical Highway again, okay. After clearing Act 2 and restoring Rail Canyon, you can head to the boss door, only to be told that you have to get the boss keys from clearing these challenge levels, just like in Sonic Generations. Unlike Sonic Generations, however, you have to clear 2 pairs of challenges to get a key. Honestly, I had a lot of fun with these challenge levels. They're pretty short for the most part, only lasting about a minute or two, and there are 4 pairs that spawn in total, but you only need to do 3, so you have some leeway. Shadow can also obtain a new Doom power here, Doom Blast, which just lets you beat the shit out of a Black Arms alien. Oh hey, Orbot and Cubot are here. They're building a rocket in an attempt to escape the void. You can find these bolts and whatnot throughout the overworld, which they need to build the rocket. While I'm on the subject, there actually is a lot to do in this overworld. In the stages, you can find these gears that you can use to unlock these chests in the overworld that contain collectibles like music and artwork. There are also these small timed challenges that you can do, as well as these balloons carrying pieces of Gerald Robotnik's journal. Once you've obtained 3 boss keys, Shadow can take on the Bio Lizard from Sonic Adventure 2. I'm starting to feel like a broken record saying this, but this is the best version of this fight. It doesn't have that annoying final phase from the original. Top it off with this version just feels a lot more cinematic. After defeating the Bio Lizard, more of the overworld opens up with 2 new stages to tackle. Before that, however, Black Doom shows up pretty much just to fuck with Shadow. Also legit, whenever I saw him, I could only think of Snapcube's Shadow the Hedgehog fan dub. I was straight up quoting that shit during these cutscenes.
Shadow, it's me, the devil. I'm here to convince you to do sin.
Shadow gains yet another new power here, Doom Surf. This activates automatically when entering water and allows Shadow to surf across the surface of water with ease. It controls pretty nicely, so props on that. Next up is Kingdom Valley from Sonic 06. Okay, this level actually slaps. It's full of alternate pathways, and you bet your ass I love that shit. After restoring Kingdom Valley, you can find... Big? What the actual fuck? Have Big and Shadow ever interacted before? This genuinely caught me off guard, and it kind of made me chuckle a bit just from the absurdity alone. Okay, the next level on the list is... Sunset Heights from Sonic Forces. Huh. Neat. Oh god, I'm actually having fun with this level too. Oh, that's a scary thought. Sega made me enjoy something from Sonic Forces that wasn't the character creator. God help us. Shadow spots the Black Arms chasing someone down and instinctively defeats them, only to realize that it is in fact Maria Robotnik, which shocks him to his core. He comes to the conclusion that Maria and Gerald are from a point in time before Gun's raid of the Ark, and wonders if he can somehow change their fate. 4 more pairs of missions spawn in the overworld, but once again you only need 3 keys. That means if you got all 4 keys previously, you only need to get 2 this time for this boss fight. It makes it so that it's somewhat open-ended, and I greatly appreciate that. The next boss fight is against Metal Overlord from Sonic Heroes, and this fight is entirely on water, so I hope you're okay with those controls. We get this kick-ass remix of What I'm Made Of, and I love how Shadow and Metal interact with each other during the fight, just the banter between the two, it's really entertaining. When Shadow returns to Maria and Gerald, he tells them that his new abilities feel as if they're somehow connected to that symbol in the sky, with Gerald confirming that it must be due to Shadow's ties to Black Doom. Gerald goes on to detail why he made the deal with Black Doom in the first place. It's because Black Doom's DNA was exactly what Gerald needed to create the ultimate life form by granting Shadow the power of chaos control. However, this came at the price of when Black Doom returned, that Shadow would become his ultimate warrior for his invasion of Earth. Shadow vows that he'll take that power for himself and will never allow Black Doom to take over. Before you can head off to the next level, you have to get a new Doom power for Shadow. Doom Morph, and yeah, I won't lie, this took some getting used to. The controls aren't exactly ideal. It allows Shadow to climb walls and ceilings, as well as grapple onto these purple orbs to swing, but I swear the controls get all funky when you're on walls and ceilings. It's sometimes, a lot of the times, not exactly fun to control. Chaos Island from Sonic Frontiers is next, and this is actually really cool. Not only is Shadow just not in Frontiers, but both that game and Forces came out after Sonic Generations, so it's great to see them represented in Shadow Generations. No level from Lost World, though. What's up with that? After restoring Chaos Island, we get a cutscene of Shadow appearing outside the level entrance for City Escape, only for Sonic to show up and demand the Chaos Emerald, with the two of them entering a time portal to fight for the Emerald, with Sonic coming out on top after Shadow's Doom powers fail to activate. Suddenly Rouge shows up and asks why Shadow gave up the Chaos Emerald, only for him to reveal that he actually gave Sonic the fake Chaos Emerald, with him instructing Rouge to swap out the two emeralds when he's finished with his business. We have one last round of missions to tackle, and this boss door requires 4 boss keys, meaning we have to finish every mission in order to attain all of the necessary keys, so if you've just been going for the bare minimum, well, now you have to do everything that you haven't done. The next boss fight is a shocker for sure. Mephiles the Dark from Sonic 06, who tries to pull the same move he used to kill Sonic on Shadow, which he of course avoids. I love how his dialogue with Shadow points out how 06 got erased from the timeline, since not only does Mephiles want to restore himself to the timeline, but Shadow doesn't even know who he is. After resealing Mephiles and ensuring that the events of 06 never happen, Shadow regains the Doom Wings power and heads to see Maria and Gerald once more, with Shadow telling Maria that he'll always fight with her wish in his heart. So, Doom Wings is pretty interesting. When you activate it, it drains your rings, but you get unlimited flight. You have to use this power to reach the final stage at the top of the symbol. Radical Highway. Okay, it's cool and all that the final level of this game is Shadow's first level ever, but what the fuck is Black Doom's obsession with this one level? Wouldn't it make more sense for this to be Westopolis from Shadow's own game? Actually, come to think of it, there are no levels from Shadow the Hedgehog here. What the fuck's the deal with that? Radical Highway is tough. Really tough. I was starting to get tilted in Act 2. This just kept killing me. After both acts, Shadow can take on Black Doom, who transforms into Devil Doom. Phase 1 is pretty similar to the Metal Overlord fight, except with frickin' lasers. And Phase 2 requires use of the Doom Morph ability, and fortunately it isn't too hard. In case you fall, they give you springs that you can quickly homing attack to if you're fast enough. After smacking Devil Doom in the eye enough times, he powers up into Neo Devil Doom, with you now having to fly through obstacles and collect rings to stay powered up. God, this section of the fight is just fucking awesome, in no small part thanks to this orchestral rock remix of All Hail Shadow. Once you've dealt enough damage to Neo Devil Doom, he uses Chaos Control, with Shadow counteracting it with his own Chaos Control to break out of it and land a kick to the face on the fucker, with him then ramming himself straight through his body, causing him to fucking explode. Black Doom is gone, and with him, so are Shadow's Doom powers. Rouge appears and tells Shadow that Sonic is about to take on the Time Eater, so it's now or never with the Chaos Emerald, so Shadow hands it over to her, with him heading off to see Maria and Gerald once more, only to see them disappearing thanks to the time anomaly healing. Shadow tries heading off to get the Chaos Emerald back to save them, but Maria tells him not to. Even if her and Shadow are split apart, she'll always be with him. Shadow runs off to help Sonic, with him shedding a tear that hits Rouge in the face, catching her by surprise, ending Shadow Generations. Sonic Generations, to me, was the peak of the boost formula, you know? Then when Sonic Forces came out, I, as well as many others, felt that Sonic Team had done all they could with the formula, as Forces felt like it was on autopilot from beginning to end. Well, I think I can safely say that Shadow Generations has proved that wrong. They absolutely could do more with the boost formula, and I hope they do in the future. Seriously, I think that the level design here is top-notch, offering fast and fun gameplay with tons of optional pathways to take if you're skilled enough to reach them. The overworld isn't confusing to navigate, and Shadow himself controls excellently. I can say without a doubt in my mind that this is the best Shadow game. Not that that was a high bar to clear in the first place, let's be honest, but I genuinely wouldn't mind seeing another game structured like this one. It doesn't even have to be focused on Sonic or Shadow, hell, give Blaze or Silver a shot, you never know. As for my thoughts on the package overall, I don't think I could have asked for a better game. Both sport incredible remixes of past stages, songs, bosses, the whole shebang. I'd have to give it some time to marinate in my thoughts, but as it stands right now, this is probably my second or third favorite 3D Sonic game. The Adventure Duology are games that I hold in high regards, especially SA1, but who knows though, maybe after another playthrough later on down the road, my opinion will change or further solidify. As for right now, I highly, absolutely recommend you get Sonic X Shadow Generations. You get 2 fun as hell games for only $50. I'll leave it up to you if you want that digital deluxe upgrade, however, depends on if you think that that Terrio skin is cool enough. Now this is the end of the video, so you can go ahead and click off here, but I am gonna ramble for a bit if you don't mind. I just want to talk about my plans for the future of this channel. I'm gonna be done with Sonic for a while. When we return to the franchise, it'll be with the adventure titles, but that'll be later next year. Right now, I want to return to Zelda for a bit to cover Zelda 2, and then I also want to do Mario 2 USA. After that, I do have something I want to do in December, but I'll leave that as a surprise for now. Going into the new year, we'll return to Mario for a while, going from Super Mario Bros. 3 probably up to the Land games. I also want to experiment with YouTube Shorts, and I was also thinking of making a Best of 2024. Not that there's much to go off of there, you know, it started in September, but you know. That's for future me to decide on. With all of that said, I hope you have a great day or night. Peace.